A medical examiner in the YNW Melly murder case actually missed a gunshot exit wound. They never photographed it and never mentioned it in the initial report. 6 weeks later, the chief medical examiner had to fix the autopsy after seeing the hospital photos that showed a clear exit wound. A sergeant also testified that YNW Juvie's wound on his thumb was defensive, but the medical examiner said the first shot killed both victims instantly. So I've never read this medical examiner's deposition because I thought it would just be standard practice. We already know everything. I decided to read it and come to find out they missed a whole damn exit wound. And she says that Juvie died instantly on the first shot, which I've always thought for years that he had a defensive wound from protecting himself or putting his hands up or something like this or some shit. Stick around for the full video, hit subscribe, let's go. All right, here we go. Dr. Rebecca McDougall. Think I'm pronouncing that right? You guys always make fun of me when I mispronounce shit. Name and occupation, chief medical examiner at Broward County. Which victim, alleged victim, did you do the autopsy? Alleged victim is crazy work. What do you mean alleged victim, bro? Mr. Williams. Now, also, did you not file an amended report? Mr. Thomas? Mr. Thomas, I did. When did you do the amended report on Thomas? Whenever the amended thing is signed, probably 6 weeks ago, March 8th. Okay, and what did you find that was incorrect? Exit gunshot wound on the thigh that wasn't photographed through autopsy. Huh? So what I think she's saying, whoever did the first autopsy fucked up and missed an exit wound. Is this common? Does shit like this happen a lot? People fuck up in autopsies? An exit wound seems like something crazy to miss. I don't know how that's even possible. At all? Not at autopsy, that's correct. Okay, was it mentioned in the autopsy report by the other ME? The initial? Yes. The exit wound? Yes. No. So it wasn't mentioned at all by the first medical examiner. Okay, so in the original autopsy performed by the other doctor, and that was Dr. Salter, she had missed that totally. That's correct. I mean, I don't know how you miss an exit wound on a gunshot victim. That should be like your first thing you do, right? Like you look around for wounds. And what caused you to discover it? Because I know that he was already buried at the time. Well, we got photographs from the hospital, the victim at the hospital, which actually showed an exit gunshot wound. If you look at the report, the mistake that Dr. Salter made that we were aware of was in labeling the entrance gunshot wound both M when he was on his back, and then when he was turned on his stomach, it was labeled as T also, indicating two different wounds. Okay. So it sounds like it was mainly a labeling issue, not like they didn't see it, is what I'm gathering from this. Before we signed it out, she realized that. So we put the T photograph in the folder by itself as an error. And we decided that M must just be a ballistic injury because we didn't have a photograph of the exit, and called it a ballistic injury because there's no injury to the femur. There's a little ditzel of a projectile in there. So what made most sense from the photographs that we had at the time was that it was some sort of ballistic injury. Was that drawn to your attention by anybody? Christine asked me to look, asked me if I had the photographs from the hospital, and asked me to look at them. And that's when we saw that there was an exit wound. And do you recall when you said Christine, Miss Bradley? That's correct. The prosecutor, that's correct. The holidays are almost here, and I know a lot of you have not completed your holiday shopping, but do not panic. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else. I mean, you'll find presents that feel meaningful and personal that don't feel rushed or last minute at all. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and made in the United States. Many are crafted by independent artists and small businesses, so every gift feels special and thoughtfully chosen. And when I say one-of-a-kind gifts, I'm not joking. Look at this cast iron potato baker, golf scoring tumbler, smartphone controlled paper airplane. That one sticks out to me a lot. That's cool. And look at this cool custom made wooden couch caddy. That's sick. I know there's some wives watching this video. There's amazing gifts for him. I mean, you got golf, tech, outdoor, baseball, cocktails, music. So don't wait. Make this holiday the year you give something unforgettable. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/CUFBOYS. That's uncommongoods.com/CUFBOYS for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Okay, did they tell the defense about any of this? I really hope they did. This is Brady evidence, right? That the first ME completely fucked up and they didn't notice something for like weeks. You know when Miss Bradley brought that to your attention? I don't. A couple weeks before I amended the report, probably. Okay. And that was the only thing you did as it relates to that autopsy. That's correct. Okay. Let's go to the autopsy you performed. Okay. You did an external and internal exam. Is that correct? Correct. Tell us your findings as to internally. He has 3 gunshot wounds. Where? 1 to the back of the head. So this is about sack chaser in the front passenger seat. 1 to the chest and 1 to the back of the shoulder. The chest is interesting because he's in the front seat and Melly was behind him. So I guess you would have like slumped forward and somehow like leaned a little bit, and he was dead instantly from the headshot, the first shot. The shots afterward, they were allegedly staging the drive-by. This is so disturbing. I can't believe, I just can't imagine doing something so fucking stupid like this. Were they entrance, exit, or could you tell me? An entrance and an exit in the torso, an entrance and exit in the head. And the one on the shoulder was just an entrance with a projectile recovered. Did you make any distinguishing findings in your external examination? What do you mean? Anything of note? First of all, did you find any tattoos on the body? I'm sure he's got tattoos, I don't remember. Any other marks, scars looking at him? I don't know what you mean by distinguishing. I mean, my job is to determine cause and manner. When you look at the injuries, do you put them in sequence of when you believe they occurred? I turn them over and I go from top of the head to the bottom, so initially there should be an order from head to toe. Which injury occurred first, second, or third? 95% of the time it does not. Okay. Wow, so usually they can't even determine which one was first. But in this case, obviously they were able to determine that. So A to E is a perforating indeterminate range gunshot wound to the neck. Stop right there for a second. What do you mean by indeterminate range? So in this case, he was wearing clothing, he had a denim jacket on, and he's also sitting in the front seat of the car. So if you want evidence of close range firing on this gentleman, I would suggest that you test the clothing, and maybe the back of the seat, the back of the front seat. You don't test the clothing? I do not. That's for the crime lab or someone else? That's correct. How did you learn that Williams was sitting in the front seat? Well, I think I was told. By who? The police. Do you know what detective told you that? I don't know, probably, was it Moretti? I don't remember. Moretti is the lead detective, probably Moretti. Goes from the left side of the posterior aspect of the neck to the right temporal scalp. There's a subdural, and subarachnoid hemorrhage in the wound tract. Skull has multiple fractures. Did you find any stippling, soot, or anything of that nature? So this is an indeterminate gunshot wound for me. If you blow the picture up 500 times, there are 2 areas that could be soot. I'm not going to call indeterminate range gunshot wound on 2 ditzels. So she can't tell the distance for Williams, apparently, where the shooter was at. If I had an intermediate gunshot wound, then I would tell you that the book answer is 3 inches to 3 feet. But the scientific way to determine distance would be to take the exact gun, same ammunition, test it until you got a stipple pattern to find out distance. Okay, fair enough. Gunshot wound B, center of the chest to the left lateral torso. She also doesn't know the distance. Perforates the skin, soft tissue, muscle, the heart, upper and lower lobe of the left lung, and it exits the left lateral torso. You can't tell the distance of the shooter to the victim. It's indeterminate. Can't tell. For the shot in the neck, he would, depending on his position in that seat, there could be evidence of close range firing on his jacket, or to the back of the seat or the seat the headrest. Okay, because of the position of the wound. But B and D, you said a front shot? Correct. Okay, could you place where the shooter was? I cannot. Fair enough. A front shot. Reading this initially makes it sound like he got shot from the front. What I'm gathering from this is after Secteaser was shot in the head, he slumped a little bit forward and then got shot in like the chest somehow when they were doing the staging. Were any of these shots fatal? He died of multiple gunshot wounds. Any gunshot can be fatal. THC or marijuana system. Did he do any other work? I did take Dr. Salter out to the vehicle. I can't tell you how long after because case was interesting in the fact that, as you said earlier, given the order of the shots, you're hardly ever able to do it. For both of the decedents, I can tell which shot came first. And what makes this case so unusual? Well, because usually if someone shot 10 times, I can't tell which one came first. Which shot came first in Williams? My guy? Yes, the shot to the head. Correct. Shot A is the only one where there's a hemorrhage through the wound tract. If you look at shot B, the picture of the heart, you look at the picture of the lung, there's no hemorrhage around any of it. So there's no beating heart when these 2 gunshot wounds occur. And that would indicate the person was already dead. There's nothing beating. Did you make a determination of Mr. Thomas? I did. And what shot was that? So for Mr. Thomas, the first shot, again, A is the shot that occurred first. Okay, and that was to the face. To the face. There's no blood on other injuries. That's correct. I'm going to show you something in a minute here after I'm done reading this of one of the detectives testifying in the case. The first shot to Juvie, or Mr. Thomas, was on his thumb. Remember, he had a bullet hole in his thumb and they said it was a defensive wound. But this medical examiner is saying no, he died instantly with a shot to his face. So I'm confused here. I mean, there's conflicting opinion. I would go with the medical examiner. Obviously, they know what happened more than this detective. But isn't that bizarre? That he kind of like ignored what this medical examiner said and just says, no, yeah, defensive wound on his thumb. I mean, I've even said that. I thought it was a defensive wound too when I saw it on Twitter. Because remember that one of the fucking lawyers posted on Twitter. When both individuals shot the first, that's correct. Shot A, they both died. That's correct. When the other shots were fired, they were dead. She took the other doctor to the car for a teachable moment. Jesus. So is it fair to say that both victims died almost instantaneously after the first shot on each one? I can't tell you how long it took to them to die, but when every other shot was fired, they were already dead. All right, so remember this reconstruction of the shooting? I'm gonna have to blur the gun, but it's also pretty silly with these random dudes in these blue suits and shit. But Sergeant Christopher Williams testifies to this at some point in the first trial in 2023. So this is where Juvie would be sitting and Melly's obviously the shooter.
So now we're moving on to the rear passenger. Are you using the same demonstrative model for this individual?
Yes.
Okay.
We know a distance of shoulder width of Mr. Thomas, and then we would be able to deduce the difference between the center console and another passenger.
How far away is the firearm from the face at that demonstrative photo, which is 6719.
In this particular demonstrative, it's approximately 6 inches.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury if Mr. Thomas was sitting straight up and didn't move to the side to get away from a gun?
At one point, I believe that he did,
And how do you know that?
because Mr. Thomas has what's called a defensive wound on his right hand, and that defensive wound was caused by a projectile. So I believe that at some point he turned and put his hands up or attempted to de-escalate what was going on and received the firearm projectile through his thumb.
All right, so he basically just said he saw at some point that Zach Chaser got shot, and this is within probably a second. He put his hands up to stop what was going on or defend himself and got shot in the thumb. But the medical examiner says no, first shot killed him.
Defensive wound. Why is that important for you as a shooting reconstructionist?
Because it lets me know that Mr. Thomas was not aware of what was going on. He was taken by surprise, and his hands being up. If his hands were down, he would not receive a projectile through his thumb. His hands are in an up position, almost saying, maybe don't shoot, or I relinquish or something. But he receives a defensive wound due to that projectile.
So he just added don't shoot, saying that. This is just crazy that the defense isn't objecting to any of this. Isn't that all speculation? Now, once again, I'm not over here defending Melly. I was reading today and I saw this and remembered the defensive wound shit. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm just trying to give you guys as much information as possible. I know people are going to say I'm defending Melly. If there's inconsistencies, I'm going to point it out in the investigation. I know there's a lot of evidence that points to Melly. I'm well aware. But still, this is not a good look for Melly. I still think the second trial is going to go worse than the first one because they can do lyrics now. It's two new prosecutors that seem to be more experienced than Miss Bradley. Like, I almost feel like the getting rid of Miss Bradley shot themselves in the foot a little bit. Well, he has a whole new defense team now, so whatever. Comment down below what you guys think. Hit subscribe. Love you boys. Peace out.